U.S. homelessness rose by a record 18% in latest annual data. The wealth of the world's 5 richest men more than doubled since 2020. Wow. There you go. There you go.
Hey, it's Jordan. I am in Flint, Michigan, East Palestine, Ohio, Tumwa, Iowa. Please support the only independent outlet on the ground covering what the corporate media covers up.
What's up, everybody? Ron Placone here, reporting for Status Coup. So a new year is upon us. It's almost 2025, and the United States has this doozy of a statistic. U.S. homelessness up 18% as affordable housing remains out of reach for many people. So homelessness, the United States saw an 18.1% increase in homelessness this year, a dramatic rise driven mostly by affordable housing, lack of affordable housing, as well as devastating natural disasters. And this is according to the AP, a surge of migrants in several parts of the country. I'd be curious to see the receipts on that. But anyway, we're just going to kind of skip this part here. Here's the important part. That increase comes on top of a 12% increase in 2023. So it went up 12% in 2023, and now it's up 18% this year in addition. So in short, a lot of people are losing their homes. And it's because the cost of surviving in the United States is getting out of reach. They put it diplomatically in places like the AP. I think we need to even go as far as we shouldn't say cost of living anymore. It's the cost of surviving. Because a lot of people, they're not really living, they're surviving. If you are just getting by paycheck to paycheck, and you sometimes have to decide between getting groceries or paying rent, and you can't afford to go to the doctor, and you can't afford to take a day off ever, let alone a freaking vacation, let alone, having a nice holiday, whatever it may be. That's not living. You're surviving. You're not living. You're surviving. And a lot of people in the United States, they are just surviving, and even that is getting out of reach. So the cost of surviving is becoming too much for a lot of people. Keep in mind, over half Americans, half of them, all Americans, can't afford a $500 emergency. There's so many generations of people who have no equity. They don't own a thing. They have no savings. They don't know what's going to happen as they get older. They're one medical issue away from bankruptcy. They're hanging on by a thread, and more people are losing their housing. Up 12% in 2023, up 18% this year. Ken Klippenstein tweeted this out. I kind of like this collage of image. Well, I don't know if collage is the right word. I don't think that's the right word for it. But I really like how he put it here. Check this out. U.S. homelessness rose by a record 18% in latest annual data. The wealth of the world's 5 richest men more than doubled since 2020. Wow. There you go. There you go. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. So homelessness is on the rise, and we talk about a lot of the issues. Why? There are no living wages. People are working 2 or 3 jobs just to survive. Keep in mind, 44% of homeless people have a job. 44% of homeless people are employed. We have this gig economy that exploits people. We have low-wage jobs. We have people working. And that's why the way they measure unemployment is complete bullshit. Whenever you hear people talking about, oh, there's record jobs under Biden, there's this, there's that. Yeah, but they're not jobs that people can survive doing. So I want to bring an interesting little tidbit to your attention. And this is actually a place kind of close to where I live. This is Redondo Beach, California. Now, Redondo Beach has reached what is called functional zero homelessness. Now, before we jump into this, I want to say a couple things as sort of a pre-disclaimer here. Um, Zero functional homelessness does not mean that there are no homeless people there. So it's not like Redondo Beach has eliminated homelessness. And as we go through this, I'm not saying that this is the ultimate solution, um, but I do want to shine a light on what they did, and we're going to kind of go through it a little bit. So this is actually from late October. Redondo Beach achieves functional zero street homelessness. Okay, so what does that mean exactly? Basically, it means that there are more people being housed than are becoming homeless in a given area. That's what functional zero homelessness means. So it's not like they have no homeless, but they're housing more people than are becoming homeless. All right. So term defines when placement of unhoused individuals to interim or permanent housing surpasses the number of individuals who become homeless over a 6-month period. So the South Bay Cities Councils of Governments today announced the city of Redondo Beach is the region's first city to achieve functional zero street homelessness. The Functional Zero pilot is designed to give South Bay cities an accountability goal based on homelessness data collected and analyzed weekly. To achieve functional zero, the number of individuals placed. Okay, we already covered that. Functional zero is an understanding that homelessness can still occur at any time. However, solutions now in place through collaborative efforts between the city. All right, so here's what it's all about. Redondo Beach began its functional zero journey in 2017 when it hired a case manager to tackle a homelessness count of 261 people. Tasked with addressing the city's growing homeless issue, City Attorney Mike Webb also launched multiple programs utilizing federal, state, and county funding and collaboration to provide resources for the city's unhoused. Okay, so here's all the things that they did. Homeless court. This one, it sounds a little creepy, actually, but here's what this is. In 2020, Redondo Beach launched the first of its kind outdoor homeless court during the COVID-19 pandemic. The homeless court program gives homeless defendants the opportunity to complete social programs in exchange for clearing their backgrounds. So if you have a crime that you are accused of, or if you've been convicted of something, or if you have something on your record, you could go to this court. You could do social programs instead of doing basic jail time or something of that nature. So I guess that's a good thing. Although the whole thing seems a little dystopian. Like, oh, you're in luck. There's homeless court now. Was your life ruined because you had to steal food to survive? Well, now you can at least do a social program instead of being in jail. But this is better than nothing at all. So in addition to its federal Home American Rescue Plan funding allocation, the city leveraged $500,000 in state investments. Okay. All right. So now here's the other thing. Pallet shelter interim housing. In 2021, with funding from LA County Supervisor Janet Hahn, the city opened its first 15-unit shelter to help facilitate housing readiness for participants. The shelter was meant for delivering essential protection. So this is just a basic shelter. Project Home Key housing site. Now, Project Home Key was basically when they would get interim housing for people. There's also Project Room Key, which gave hotel rooms to houseless people. Now, these projects definitely had their issues. There was some corruption at the top as far as the way they were unrolled. There would be people who would get a hotel room and then would be kicked out of it. So it was not without its issues. But it did get some people housing, and there were certain districts in LA, that kind of did more with it than others. But to focus on Redondo Beach for now, in 2024, the city opened Project Moonstone, 20 units of interim housing in a former hotel site. The site is the city's first state-funded Project Home Key housing site. Project Home Key provides regional and local public entities an opportunity to develop a broad range of housing types as interim or permanent housing. Client aid and single room occupancy beds. With LA County, what the hell? Guys, it's the end of 2024, and I cannot talk today. Thank you for bearing with me. With LA County voter surpassed Measure H funding, they provided city participants with just-in-time client aid funding to city and agency case managers. This pays for expenses to place clients in housing, shelter, or an employment situation. Funds can also be used for needs such as transportation expenses for job interviews or family reunification. Okay, so they're using Measure H funding to provide more resources for people. So what's interesting here, and again, this is not, I'm not saying that, oh, this is perfect. Oh, everyone should follow and do what Redondo Beach is doing. But what I'm trying to illustrate here is that out of these four things that allowed them to achieve this goal, that, well, it's not the end goal here. I mean, the goal should be to end homelessness, not just have functional zero street homelessness where, hey, some people got houses, some people are homeless, but more people, have shelter than not. I mean, that's not the finish line. But out of these four things, three of them have something in common. And that something is just giving people homes, just getting people into housing. Now, not all of it's permanent housing, but getting people into housing. Now, some of y'all have heard me talk about this. I favor a housing first initiative. A housing first initiative is, to put it very basic, exactly what it sounds like, where you focus on getting somebody into a house first, get a roof over their head, and have that housing be unconditional. And then from there, you get them the social services that they need. Maybe they need extensive mental health care. Maybe they just need a freaking shot. Maybe they just need a car to get to a job interview. Maybe they just need, some type of rehabilitative program. Maybe they're disabled, whatever it may be. But you get a roof over their head and you kind of take it from there. But here's some of the verbiage. Housing First is a homeless assistance approach that prioritizes providing permanent housing to people experiencing homelessness, thus ending their homelessness and serving as a platform from which they can pursue personal goals and improve their quality of life. This approach is guided by the belief that people need basic necessities like food and a place to live before attending to anything less critical, such as getting a job, budgeting properly, or attending to substance use issues. Additionally, Housing First is based on the understanding that client choice is valuable in housing selection and supportive service participation, and that exercising that choice is likely to make a client more successful in remaining housing and improving their life. In other words, give them a house and let them make the choice to participate in other things. And if they're making that choice, they're more likely to succeed in it. So that's what Housing First is all about. And some people say, oh, that sounds so idealistic, but really it's not, because at the end of the day, and if you're looking for a book on this topic, I highly recommend Pedagogy of the Oppressed by Paulo Freire. It's a beautiful book about this, where he writes about how when he was younger, it was very difficult for him to learn because he was hungry. And it really makes you think. Try to learn something when you're hungry. When you are truly, like, and I don't mean like hungry, like starving. Don't starve yourself. Not what I'm suggesting. But like genuinely, you haven't eaten yet today. You're really like it's time. You just need a bite to eat. You're getting a bit hangry. Try to learn something. Try to read about a topic you're not necessarily well versed in, and see how well it works for you. Seriously, do it. And in the comment section, let me know how it goes. It's really hard. You can't freaking do it. So for somebody to truly rehabilitate themselves, they need those basic necessities: a roof over their freaking head and food in their belly. So Housing First, it has a very, very significant success rate, especially in other parts of the world. Now, here it's been tried some, and there's been some situations where I believe the funding was basically not where it needed to be. But here's the deal. Here in California, in particular, we could pay for it many times over, because you know what we do? The way California deals with homelessness, and this is the other reason I wanted to highlight Redondo Beach here. You see what happens when they just give a little bit as far as housing goes. They just have a few programs that get people into mostly interim housing. This is not, well, Redondo Beach is not a Housing First. thing, but it's closer than what a lot of other cities and neighborhoods in the area do. Now, not just for anyone who's not the know, Redondo Beach is its own city, but it's part of LA County. So, what we typically do in the Los Angeles area, and other places do this too, it's not solely unique to Los Angeles, is we have these things called sweeps. And what sweeps are is cops go in and they just displace homeless people. They just force them out of an area and they just gotta basically go somewhere else. It's as if they're shooing rodents or something. It's disgusting. It's morally repulsive. It should not be legal to do in a civilized society. And that's what the city of Los Angeles does on a regular basis. And how much do these sweeps cost? They cost millions of dollars, millions and millions of dollars throughout the course of the year. All that money could go to a housing first program. And you see how when you put roofs over people's head, it works. And I understand there are some people who are homeless who they are severely mentally ill and they need significant care and resources, and they might not be willing to go into a shelter or something like that. I understand that exists. But what about all the other situations that exist? What about the 44% of homeless people who have jobs? What about all the people who, they went bankrupt and that's why they're out on the street? What about the people who are driving for Uber and Lyft and have to live in their cars? I mean, it's so ridiculous that people try to nag on programs like these that have a very significant success rate. Oh, because, well, some people are very, they're mentally disturbed and they need help and they need whatever else. It's like, yeah, okay, well, and so you get something like Housing First, and then you're going to have more resources to help those people as well. So I think that what's happening at Redondo Beach, even though this is just a very small example, in the big scheme of things, this just goes to show you that when you really want to confront homelessness, sometimes the situation, although there will be complex scenarios, sure, but at the end of the day, in the kind of big picture, the solution is not crazy complicated. The solution is get people into housing. And housing first programs across the world have pretty much eliminated homelessness in different areas. Now, I know a lot of other countries, they have way more social spending than we do. So they already have a more substantial social safety net than the United States does. And that's a factor. I understand that. But man, we have the resources to have housing first initiatives all over this freaking country. We have the resources. We could do this in Los Angeles. It's a calculated political choice not to. The millions of dollars they spend on sweeps. So, USA, homelessness is increasing, 12% in 2023, another 18% this year. It keeps going the way it's going. Eventually, that's going to be up to about 50%. Imagine a scenario where you take two random people in the United States, chances are one of them doesn't have a place to live. That's the path we're going on. So for anyone out there that thinks, oh, housing first, that just doesn't sound realistic. That just doesn't sound doable. How does that other scenario sound to you? How does 1 out of every 2 people not having a home sound to you? So I want to wish you all a happy new year. I want to say thanks for being here. And this is a really alarming statistic that hit the newsfeed today. And I hope the examples that I showed you illustrate the universal truth that there's no frickin' reason that it has to be this way. There is no reason at all. This is purely a self-inflicted wound. And when you look at all the things that are effed up about our world, this one thing, we could fix it many times over if we just had the, I mean, there are individuals in this world who have the resources to end homelessness around the world multiple times. They're not going to, but they have the resources. And I guess the one piece of good news is that a Housing First initiative can start right in your community. So this is something that with properly built local power, we can do something about. And before I sign out here, guys, I do have a special announcement to make. My movie Left It Wall is coming out very, very soon. And it is actually available for pre-order now. It's going to officially come out on January 24th. It's going to be distributed to a bunch of different platforms. You'll be able to get it very easily. As the date gets closer, I'll be able to give specific information on all the platforms it'll be on. But you can pre-order it now from Apple TV. Apple TV is among the platforms it's going to be on, and you can pre-order it right now. The link will be below. Please, if you use Apple TV, if you don't have Apple TV, don't worry about it. It's going to be on a bunch of other platforms. But if you are an Apple TV user, please pre-order my movie Left It Wall. It's really, really helpful. And the more pre-orders we get, the better placement we're going to have once we're an official new release. Like if you get a lot of pre-orders, you get better placement in the new release category. So please, if you are an Apple TV user and you're willing to do a pre-order, please do it. The link will be below. And I'll, of course, be here on Status Coup, letting you know everywhere where you can get the movie as it gets closer to the date. But you can pre-order it now. And this is Ron Placone for Status Coup, signing out.